Thursday, May 27th, 2021, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So today, I'm going to talk about a story that some of you already know, some of the long-term viewers, some of you who have been with the channel for many years know already about. But yeah, I'm approaching 50,000 subscribers. I think we're just above 49,000. And I get more and more new viewers. And I think it's important for people to know where I'm coming from, my background. So it's the story of the day I realized that our monetary system was broken, was rotten, not fit for purpose. And I had already been studying the system, the monetary system. It was around 2004. So for 2 or 3 years, I've been looking at the Austrian School of Economics, at sound money, at gold and silver, at fiat currency. But this day, I finally realized it was the eureka moment. It hit me. And it was a silly thing, and it usually is. And it happened when I was at work in the city. I was working at the time for ABN AMRO Bank, a Dutch bank. I worked there for about 7 years in the futures and options department. And the reason I ended up there was that I worked for Citibank from 95 to 97 in their futures department as well. I was even called a vice president at Citibank. And then they decided to sell off the futures and options part, which was called Citi Futures. And they sold it off to ABN AMRO Corp, which was the arm of ABN AMRO in Chicago. They did futures as well. So yeah, I ended up at ABN AMRO Bank. It was a very good bank to work for, I have to say, ABN AMRO. But in around 2003, 2002, just before I left ABN AMRO, I left, I think, in 2004. I was going for lunch, as usual, to get my lunch. And yes, in the city, a lot of people take their clients out for long lunches. And for me, it was a little different because the preponderance, well, 99% of my clients, almost all my clients, were not in London. They were either in Europe, some in the US as well, even some in the Middle East, places like Bahrain. So it was hard to take them out for lunch unless they were visiting or unless I was going over to Italy, France, or New York to visit them. I usually just went out to get some lunch. Bishopsgate, that's where our office was. So I was coming back from picking up my lunch, and we usually ate at the desk. We didn't have time to go out every day to spend half an hour or 45 minutes at lunch on our own. Our bosses wouldn't be very happy about that. So I was coming back, putting the change, some of the change back in my wallet, and then for some reason I picked out one of these, a 20-pound note. And at the time it was bigger, and it wasn't made out of this synthetic plastic-like material. And you could read a lot better because it was bigger. The font was bigger. But yeah, when I was putting back, I think I was putting back a 5-pound note. Maybe I took out 10 pounds, bought the lunch and put the change in there. But then I picked out one of these, a 20-pound note. And I saw that writing below Bank of England here, as you can see here. And I'm going to read it for you because it's very small. And it says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 20 pounds. So at that moment, I thought, wow, this is a promise. What are they going to pay us in? And I had already, of course, thought about the monetary system, how it used to be backed by gold or silver, and you could redeem your notes. You could go to the bank before World War I, and if you took one of these, and I don't think they had 20-pound notes back then. The biggest, I think, was 5. And you could go with a 5-pound note, and they would give you 5 gold sovereigns, which, by the way, a sovereign is still a pound nowadays. Legally, the face value is a pound. It's still legal tender. So looking at that, I thought to myself, it's amazing that they've had to keep this promise there under Bank of England, and it's signed, of course, by the chief cashier. So I thought to myself, this is a scam, because if I went to the Bank of England or any other bank and asked to get 20 sovereigns for this, they would laugh at me. They wouldn't do that. They would say we're not under a gold standard anymore. But yet they've had to keep this promise over the years to give the semblance that there's something behind this piece of paper, apart from faith and confidence and the barrel of a gun, right? That you need to accept it, legal tender laws, that you have to pay your taxes with this. So yeah, I have called the Bank of England before, and what they tell you is that all that means is that they will replace an old note for a new note. And I always ask them, so why don't you write that down? We will replace this piece of paper with a new one. Well, because they can't. Because if they do that, people will realize that it's just a piece of paper backed by nothing. So that was the day. It was around 2003, maybe early 2004. I realized this is not going to last long, this system. And at the time, the housing bubble was just building up, starting. Rates were very low, relatively low already. And I thought to myself, this can't go on forever. And of course, in 2008, we had the housing collapse. We had the collapse of the banks. Taxpayer had to bail everyone out. And then we've had also the collapse last year. And I saw a comment the other day in one of my videos saying, you guys have been predicting these collapses for so long and it never happens. Well, it's happened twice already. And the only reason it keeps going is because they keep bailing people out at your expense, the taxpayer. But the next collapse, I don't think they're going to be able to bail out anyone really, because their credit is running out. These people who issue these empty promises. And that's why it's paramount that you have some kind of money outside the system, some real money in the form of physical silver and physical gold. And talking about physical silver today, the interview I did with the guys at Wall Street Silver is premiering at 11 a.m. New York time, or 4 p.m. London time on Wall Street Silver YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link to that interview below in the description. Hopefully I will also be publishing this interview on my channel tomorrow. Let's see if I can upload it as well on my channel. So yeah, Wall Street Silver, I think they're doing a great job. Try to join their Reddit group as well. There's already almost 83,000 silverbacks. That's what we're called, the silverbacks. Trying to expose the system. Trying to get people basically to do a run on the bank. That's what you're doing. Anytime you exchange these empty promises for real money like that, it's a run on the bank. And that's why the central banks and the bullion banks keep an eye on gold and silver every day and try to control the price on COMEX and the LBMA. So it's necessary for them, because without controlling those prices, their system is going to be exposed very quickly. Yes, it was just a simple thing the day I realized that the system was basically rotten And it just goes to show you, you don't need to do sometimes a huge amount of research or studying to find out that a system is basically corrupt. It's a simple thing like that. And sometimes, of course, you might think, oh, it can't be, I'm crazy. But sometimes the simplest reasons are the best. It's the so-called Occam's razor. Yeah, that was the day that I realized the monetary system was broken. So before I look at the markets this morning, I wanted to go through a subject that is controversial, but I've covered many times on my channel over the years. And it's to do more with what people call conspiracy theory, which is a term, of course, that was coined by the CIA back in the 60s to discredit people who were questioning the Warren Commission report on the JFK assassination, of course, because they wanted to cover things up. And yeah, that is an unfortunate term. And of course, a lot of the research I've done over the years, people come out and say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. But this is from people who never do any studying or research. They come out with no proof. They just say that it's outrageous. How can you say that? But a lot of it is becoming what people call conspiracy fact. And this is a subject that is linked at the hips with what's going on in the last 16 months or so since this thing started, this crisis that we're still facing. And why is that? Well, because the subject of climate change, they call it climate change now, not global warming like they used to, and the pandemic, they're linked because they are problems that are not within borders of countries. They're like global, international problems. They convince us, of course, that we need a supranational solution. And whenever you hear supranational, that's a bad thing, because that means even more power for these people in institutions like the League of Nations, which they try to peddle after World War I, and the United States refused to join. And of course, unfortunately, after World War II, the Americans were convinced to join the UN. And you saw yesterday that the Rockefellers are behind the UN, and so are the bankers. And you look at all the people involved in the environmentalist movement and also involved in what's happening now, they all come from the banking background. And how can I say that? Well, as I said, I've been talking about this for years. There's a video here. I think it's one of my first videos. And I'll put a link to it below in the description and up in the cards where it pops up on the screen on the top right-hand side, I think. And it's called Climate Change, a Backdoor to World Government, says George Hunt. It's one of my first videos, probably not as polished as now, but so what? And I highly recommend the link that I put to George Hunt's video that he did years ago. I think it was back in the 1990s he did that. George Hunt, unfortunately, is passed on. He's a really interesting character. So George Hunt got involved in this line of business in the environment, and he was present at a lot of these important summits. And I highly recommend you watch this video. But you will see that the people behind the UN, behind this movement of global warming and climate change, and also behind the movement right now that we've had with the WHO, they're like the Rockefellers, they're the Rothschilds, a guy also called Maurice Strong, who passed on as well. He was like a big UN guy who was connected to the Rothschilds. So why am I talking about that today? Well, partly because I think there is a way to cover this and not be censored, and hopefully this will be so. But I also saw a tweet yesterday, and it goes to show that the bankers are behind it. So I follow the Bank for International Settlements on Twitter because you want to keep an eye on the enemy. And Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, and he was also the governor of the Bank of Canada. He was a former Goldman Sachs man. Now he's involved in climate change. And it says an impressive lineup of special guest speakers awaits you at the Green Swan Conference next week, starting with Mark Carney. So it says here, what's the Green Swan Conference and who's behind it? Well, it's coordinating finance on climate. And it says organized by the BIS, the Banque de France, which is the Central Bank of France, IMF, International Monetary Fund, and it says here, Mark Carney, finance advisor to the UK Prime Minister for COP26, UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. So these guys who are really good at pumping up financial bubbles, running a Ponzi scheme monetary system based on nothing, they're telling us now that they're experts on climate and finance. I mean, this goes back to what George Hunt covered, that this is an agenda for global control. So I highly recommend you watch the George Hunt video. If you had to choose one video to watch today, it would be that one, in my opinion. So what is COP26? Well, it's this phony summit they're going to have, I think, in Glasgow in November. So you can see the UK is behind this movement. So with that, let's go look at where the markets are this morning. It is 8:20 a.m. London time. Gold did fairly well yesterday. I think we got up to 1913 after I did my video. And of course, it doesn't happen every time, but it happens most of the time when the US markets come online, regular sessions. On the regular session, gold and silver tend to get sold off. I think someone did an analysis years ago that if you only bought gold and silver during US sessions and you only calculated that price, gold would have been down from 2001 to 2011 instead of being up as it was. So it's crazy. So right now we're at $18.99.50, up about $3. The range has been $18.92 to $19.04. So yeah, they're trying hard to cover their shorts. I think they've been increasing their shorts as well, trying to keep the price from going up, the futures price. And I think Alistair McLeod looked at the COT numbers. Yes, they're desperate because they're increasing their shorts into a rising market. So they're going to do their utmost to turn the market around. But if they can't, they're going to have to cover very quickly, and it's going to put a rocket up the price. We have to watch, though. Silver is up 3 cents at $27.71. The range has been $27.48 to $27.80. Yes, very frustrating, the price of silver. Of course, this is not the real price we paid for real silver. We got up to around $28.25 yesterday, and then they just came in and smacked the price, the paper price. Jeff Christian's friends. So the Dow futures down 40 points, NASDAQ 100 future down 53, S&P future down 9. The currencies, the pound is unchanged, 141.22. The euro is up slightly at 122.04. Dollar is unchanged versus the Japanese yen at 109.08. And yeah, the dollar's losing a lot of ground here versus the yuan. We're now almost at 636. We're down 0.2% at 637.08. The The Aussie dollar is at 77.53, so pretty firm, up 1/8%. High grade copper is at 455.70, up 0.5%. WTI crude is down 0.4% at 65.86. And to finish off, the 10-year yield is up 1 basis point at 158. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.